Hello, it's Elizabeth Busby here, and welcome to Discerning Marriage. Today, we are talking about 4 very practical tips for Catholic men who want to date. Now, some of this is going to seem so simple and silly, but if you're not doing it, it's making a big difference. Like, for example, your hygiene. Make sure that you are bathing regularly. Make sure that you brush your teeth. Make sure that you are wearing deodorant. Make sure that you look nice, that your clothes look nice, that they're not like super wrinkly and you pulled them out of the bottom of the dryer where they've been sitting since you washed them earlier this week. Like, make sure that you are taking care of yourself just in a basic human way, but that is going to communicate to the woman that you're dating that you are a safe man that she can entrust herself to. If you can't even take care of yourself and she's picking up on the fact that you can't take care of yourself, how are you supposed to take care of her and the babies that perhaps one day the Lord will bless you with, right? So it may seem like not a big deal to you right now. And I know that a lot of men sometimes don't think about these sorts of things for whatever reason, but it matters a lot and it communicates something very clearly to her. All right, next tip. Make sure that you are a man of your word. If you are saying, I'm going to pursue you, actually do it. If you say, I'm going to call you tomorrow, actually do it. If you say that you are going to go to a date with her on Friday and you're going to make the reservation and you'll be there at 6, make sure you're there at 5:45. Like, make sure that you are a person of your word. So the vows that you say have an actual sacramental significance. Like, there's more to them than just the words that you're saying. But a lot of people don't treat them as such. They treat them as just any other words that they say that can be broken very easily. And one of the things that I give this advice like broad speaking to people all the time, but there are signs that you can look for before marriage to know if this is the sort of person you're going to be able to trust in good times and in bad. There's integrity to their word. You're going to be able to believe that when they make the vows, they're not going to be threatening divorce. They're not going to leave you when things get hard. Like, there are signs beforehand. And one of the signs beforehand that I teach people to look for is, are you a person of your word? Do you value the integrity of your word? Are you a trustworthy person, as demonstrated by very practical things like I say I'm going to call tomorrow and then I do. I have zero tolerance for dating games. Like, maybe if I just, wait a couple days to call her, then she'll be like, I don't even know. I can't even get in the mindset of why someone would do something like that. It feels like torture to me. Like, say what you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and let's make it simple. Okay. That's how we decrease drama. And if you've watched my stuff for any length of time, you know how little patience I have for drama. It makes things very hard. It makes life very complicated. And God is simple. We just want to be simple like the Lord. All right. Another practical tip is that I personally am on the team of, you should pay for the first date. You should pay for all the dates, in my opinion. If she offers after the first 1 or 2 dates, you're welcome to receive it. But there's something beautiful about providing for her and doing that. Like, it's a gift that you're making to her. And if you are asking so many women on dates that you don't have the money for it, that is probably a problem. And if it is some sort of like pride thing, we can overcome that pride thing, right? Like, I'm very much on team pay for the date. I'm also on team plan the date. I think that it communicates to her that she's worth your time. And after you guys are in a committed relationship, when you're going on regular weekly dates, which I strongly recommend, which is a conversation for another time, you guys can take turns planning them. But as you're pursuing her, part of that pursuit is being intentional and creative in the way you guys spend your time. That is going to impress her so much. That is a taste of that providing for her. And I know you're capable of it. And if you're not capable of it, ask someone who is capable of it to help you figure it out. There are so many fun, inexpensive things to do. You do not have to go spend $150 on a fancy dinner. In fact, please don't go spend $150 on a fancy dinner. Go for coffee and go for a walk, or go play a game of Frisbee golf, or go play a game of pickleball, or go oh my gosh, so many different things that you guys can do. So cheap and fun and simple and active. Highly recommend. The last piece of very practical advice I'm going to give you may feel like it doesn't apply, but stick with me because it totally does. I want to really encourage you to be intentional with your financial life. So we live in a time where debt has become just like the norm. Like, it is weird when people say they're going to pay cash for a car. Like, it is weird for people to think like, oh, someone's going to save up money and buy a car with cash. They're not going to get a car note. Or I'm going to save up and wait to go to graduate school until I have the money to pay for it, right? That one's a little bit different because of life circumstances. But things like a car, things like commercial debt, even things like student loans, it is very, mortgage aside, we're not talking about mortgages, but the rest of it, like, it is very easy to find yourself in a position where you owe so many people so much money that the majority of your paycheck is going to all of these people and all of this interest that you're paying. What that does is it greatly restricts your freedom in so many different ways, which is, again, is a conversation for another time. But in this particular way, it impedes your freedom to ask girls on dates, and it impedes your freedom to have long distance relationships. And stick with me here. I am a big believer in making a relationship as incarnational as you can, as early as you can. So the word incarnational means to take on flesh. Jesus became incarnate, and you want your relationship to get off of the internet as soon as possible. So I am all for meeting people online. I think that there are ways to do it that are very healthy and wonderful. And I think the Lord has moved big, beautiful mountains and making it possible for people who wouldn't necessarily meet in their real life to meet and get married and have beautiful babies. Some of our very best friends in the whole world met on Catholic Match, and they were in like Texas and Colorado. I cannot imagine life without them in it and their child in my life. And anyway, they're precious and amazing. I am a big fan of online dating because I've seen the fruits in my own life. However, I use the phrase, instead of online dating, I prefer the phrase online meeting and then making the dating incarnational as soon as possible, meaning you guys are together in the flesh. Either on the phone, video calling in the flesh, right? That's a connection, not online, but in person as soon as possible. And I think it is at least at the very beginning, it ought to be, the financial piece ought to be on the man. And the time ought to be on the man. I mean, I guess if he really wanted to buy her a plane ticket and buy her a hotel room, he could fly her out to him if there was like a very specific reason he wanted to do that. But I think the motivation for that and the intentionality on that should be on the man's part. And if you don't have a lot of cash lying around, like if you're living at or above your means and you're not saving anything and you don't have money just sitting around, even a little bit of money just sitting around to be able to use when God asks you to pursue a woman, or God invites you, I'll use that language, when God invites you to pursue a woman, you're going to miss out on opportunities. And so I think there are so many reasons to get your financial life in order, to learn financial literacy, to make sure that you have the habits that set you up for success, to make sure your tastes are in line with your budget, are in line with the money that you make, that you're not putting things on credit cards or whatever because you want, or buying, stretching the maximum car note that you possibly can get because you want this fancy car to whatever. Make sure that you are living as simple of a life as you can and saving as much of your money as you can so that if God invites you to pursue this woman who lives across the country, you can buy a plane ticket on a cheap airline and do it. Now, if you find yourself taking all of this advice, getting into a healthy, committed relationship, actually discerning marriage with a woman you want to get married to one day, and find yourself needing to have some of these harder conversations, but not really knowing how to do it, the next course that we have here at the Theology of the Body Institute talks about this specifically. There are 8 different sessions, all based on things St. John Paul II said should be necessary for people who are discerning marriage. He calls it proximate preparation, and finances is one of them. So we spend an entire session talking about finances. Actually, my husband does because he's much better with finances than I am. So it's really excellent and wonderful. Check it out if that's the season of life that you're in. So those are my practical pieces of advice. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you have anything to add that I didn't add, there are so many more, but for the sake of the length of this video, I'm going to leave those 4 because they're concrete things you can do and don't want you to get overwhelmed. So give me your thoughts. I would love to hear them. You can also send me specific messages at Discerning Marriage on Instagram. I answer all of my DMs on my own, and I love answering DMs. It's like my favorite thing. So if you have a specific situation and you want my advice on it, please send it to me. I answer all of them. They make me very happy. But you can, of course, also leave a comment here on YouTube, and we will see that too. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been beneficial. I have such a heart for masculinity and such a heart for men being able to live their full, free lives. I think it's wonderful. So I hope this has been helpful. Until next time, stay close to the heart of Jesus and be not afraid. Bye.